Okay, sounds good to me. Hi everybody, and welcome to the Keshe Plasma Reactor Group for Tuesday, July 18th, 2017. Once again, we are gathered here on Tuesday nights continuously for 4.5 years or something like that. It's been a long time, I can barely remember. And we'll continue to do so in the foreseeable future. And what we do here in the Keshe Plasma Reactor Group is, well, surprisingly, we talk about Keshe Plasma reactors and all kinds of topics under the sun, depending on if we can jam it into our schedule here. Usually we have stuff even up to the last minute that people are wanting to explain and talk about. And we'll just see as we go, because I play it by seat of the pants. I never know what is going to come up in this show and very seldom organize it beforehand. But we shall see. I do understand that Mr. Chen would like to do a little presentation on the neutron and proton and electron and so on, and maybe that will be something we can perhaps begin with. But what we usually do here is begin with something from Lee Coates. Haven't heard from Lee too much lately, and wondering what's up there, Lee. Do you have something you want to show us today or talk about?
Why not?
All right. Just get you pinned up there.
Okay. Busy working doing a basement renovation, so haven't been able to stay up late.
Oh yeah.
I've been trying to make a different, for the past 2 years I've been making my CH3 GANs just with a nano-coated plate and an iron bar. And of course, 3 or 4 months ago, Mr. Keshe said that's not the way to do it. So I did I think I told you guys about a run I did. I don't know, 2-3 months ago. I was using a galvanized steel stud and a galvanized chunk of rebar, and that ran its course for about a couple of months. And out of the galvanized rebar, all I got was the CO2 and zinc oxide GANs. It never even turned pink. It was just white on white GANs in the container. And the one with the steel stud, for the most part, it was, again, white GANs. And then towards the very end of the run, the zinc got used up on the steel stud, and then I got a little bit of pink in it. And then then it quit. So I went out and I bought chicken mesh. And I don't know whether we can see this on this thing here. I think I stirred it up carrying it over here, but I had a 1/4 inch of CO2 zinc oxide GANs on the bottom, and then once all the zinc sort of wore off the chicken mesh, then I got the I guess CH3. So I'm just wondering what you other guys are doing, because right now that means I got a mixture of zinc oxide, CO2, and CH3 in this pot is what I'm thinking. And I'm just wondering what you guys are doing to get a more pure CH3 GANs.
And what are your plate combinations there again?
Well, this is a nano. This is a. I got to get better lighting. This is a nano-coated copper plate and chicken mesh. And it's just tied together with a nano-coated wire. Okay. This is after about 3 weeks. So I got about 1/2 inch of GANs on the bottom. The first 1/4 is mostly as a whitish GANs, and then the top 1/4 is the reddish GANs.
Okay, any comments from anybody on that in particular?
So chicken wire, it seems to be a good choice. So let me show something. This has been made with a simple iron plate because of misunderstanding. It had no zinc. And this other has been weighed with galvanized iron. And there is some difference even in color and in behavior and structure.
Now your galvanized iron, did the zinc get used up on it, and you actually had exposed iron in your?
It gets thinner and thinner. But let me show something. This is a strong neodymium magnet from how to say hard drive. Let's leave it here for a few seconds. How do you like it?
Looks like lots of magnetics in there.
This looks like rust.
Iron oxide of some sort. Mm-hmm.
It's iron oxyhydroxide. So this is what you get if you have no zinc. Here you have less of that.
Yeah, you can see a tiny little bit there. Like
still there is some, but not so much. Eventually we can use magnet to separate and to purify it. That black color, it's the magnetical part. The magnetic part, and that will change its color as soon as it will lose the magnetism. So some better ways are needed. You see this? It's still there. So this is the way how to test what you produced. So don't expect this to have the same behavior. Let's see something else. Just let me free up this wire. So here are two setups with same kind of plates. Nano-coated copper on one side and galvanized iron on the other side. It's same salt, it's same salinity. And look, one is producing something orange color, and the other is producing something of green color. But they are one near the other. What's your opinion on that?
Do you have a different connection on the plates? Or some sort of
Same twisted nano-coated wires, twisted nano-coated wire. And it's producing some amino acids on the top, of course. Not too much, but it's producing same salinity, same day. They started on the same day. And there is a huge difference. The only difference is due to the position is that this has the galvanized iron, and on both sides of it there is a copper and copper, even though the other copper is in another box. And this one has nothing like that on its other side. Eventually I will try to steer it and to do the magnet test. At least on that one with a reddish color. Just I need a special tool for it. It doesn't take any black stuff. And the other, of course, doesn't react as well. So this seems to be better.
Could you explain again, Shander, what the difference between the two setups were and why you figure
position?
Just the position is enough to cause the difference, you figure. And the one on the left, the greenish one, is you said it had another copper plate beside it or something?
It has the neighbor one, which is the CH3 box.
Yeah, okay.
So this is near to the CH3. And one flipped to do something orange, the other flipped to some other condition and is doing something else.
Amazing.
Let's steer that too. Use a fresh stick. And another thing, when last time I produced this one, I had near to its box that zinc oxide or CO2, which was produced in the first, first is producing something whitish, so that I extracted always. So I don't let to be mixed. This is most probably zinc oxide. It was floating on the top a lot with something very white. And this is from the other. And last time when I made this CH3, I had the extracted zinc oxide CO2 near it, and looked what happened with it. In a short time, it became greenish. Originally, it was a whitish, creamish color. And after it stayed near to the CH3 box, it became slightly greenish color. So something similar to this.
That's a good observation. Makes it sort of hard to be standardizing things in a way. We have to be very, very careful of our surroundings and environment.
Yeah. My brother said that in a place where he hires a room to stay during the week time, because he works at a long distance from his house, so it's not so good to drive 100 miles every day. So he goes home only at the weekends. He hired the room, and there he tried to make CH3, and it became black. Such a greenish, bluish, mystical black. Another thing, what happened, so he set up the box, and he had nearby another box producing CO2, another producing copper oxide, and he left to the job, to the night shift. When he returned, it was a storm with a black cloud right above his house. He hired an apartment only at a higher level, higher store. And when he entered in the room, it was water sprayed at around 2 meters around the CH3 box. Not only in the room where he was, he set it up, but also into the next room behind the wall. But in a radius about 2 meters, everything was sprayed with water. And also the wall was sprayed with water. He checked the roof. That was dry. So it was no water leaking in. But the gas which he produced became that black color, such a greenish, bluish black. And something happened. Either the storm brought up some conditions with that black cloud, or did that attracted that black cloud? He is not sure about it. Anyway, he didn't like what happened, and everything sprayed, and he got very emotional, and he just disposed all of it. He got rid of it. He thought to put it into his car and to drive home, but he thought, so however, what would happen if that will have some stronger effect, seeing the water around, and if he will fall asleep while driving. So he didn't get that. But sometimes strange things happen.
Well, that's quite a story, Shandor.
Yeah. And recently, if you watched the discussions on the Skype chat group, you see it was Zoltan who was trying to do something like deuterium according to so-and-so descriptions. And he applied such a current, such a 20-30 milliamperes on his plates. He set up for CH3. And again, what he got, you see two boxes with a similar setup. That little thread, I think it's a bit of extra hot glue, because he covered the top of the boxes. And what he got, one is a black, which is a greenish black, and the other with same voltage, same plate, same conditions, but different place. He got something reddish, which yesterday started to make a lot of bubbles.
That's more bubbles than I've seen in any experiments.
Yeah, and this is covered, but it's about 23, 33 milliamps here, according to his say, in the 0.8 volts. So it's a pity he is not here now, because he would have something more to say. And this is the gas which he produced in that one, which was the dark one. This is how it looks like. Yeah. It's a dark, bluish, greenish thing. He's thinking, is it deuterium property GANs, or GANs with deuterium property, or whatever?
Not sure how we would measure that. Interesting. Mark?
I asked him yesterday evening, I talked with him and I asked him to measure the pH. He said already he rinsed it once, but he measured the pH, it was around 8.
8. Thank you, Shandor. Mark, you had your video on there for a bit. Did you have something to add about the iron GANs, perhaps?
Well, just to try to help Lee out.
Yeah, I want to get back to Lee here, but you had something you wanted to add, I think.
Well, I just wanted to show him, because he had different questions about CH3, and well, I've been making it quite some time too, so, but I make it a little, you know, I don't make my CH3 with any power at all. No power, just the air bubbler.
Oh yeah, you use the bubbler, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then I just use, you know, like maybe about a month or so ago, we did the math on the Fe, the iron. Shandor did the math to find out if it was equal because what I use is just I just use a steel bar or just a steel plate, and then the other plate I try to nano coat it. I just put it in the caustic like we do anything else, and just nano coat the other plate, the steel plate, and then some runs, I use that carbon stick maybe a couple of times. Like the last one on the, see, I'm going to stop using that carbon because I know that starts to add a lot of energy to your, like, see, if you look at the two CH, that were made with the biosalts to the, it would be the right side there. Those two, and they were made in two different containers. They will not settle down from the day I made them. I mean, there's stuff on the bottom, but it has found its. I mean, there's like 5 or 6 different layers, and Shandor tried to explain that it had different field strength, and I think that's because of the carbon in it too. Maybe I'm not 100% sure, but both of these, all these GANs, or all these CH, like the jug, the dark one in the gallon jug there, that was just made with the Epsom salt and the potassium. And I just did that the same way with the plates and the air bubbler. And it's a 30-day run. And, I mean, each one of them there's 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got 5 different types of CH3s made with 5 different types of, different salts, Himalayan salt, just regular sea salt, the 12 biosalts, and like I said, the Epsom salt with the potassium. So, I mean, it's just the different, but now it's just a point of trying to learn how to use them. That's where we're at now is, the different degrees of what the CH3s can do for us is where we're at now. It's, now once again, we go back to where we started again, is that the pH on all of them are different. And I started taking, back in, February, but then people were telling us, oh, don't take the pH. You don't need that. It's, there's no use in doing that. Well, it's a lot of work, especially you don't want to do any cross contamination with your I have a digital one. So you got to clean it in between each one. It's a lot of work to do, but now we found out that it's a little bit more important than we had first thought. So if that helped you at all, Lee, maybe, I don't know. So I just wanted to throw that out to you.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. Have you tried putting a magnet beside yours, the ones you're using with the nano-coated iron bar and iron bar, to see if you're getting iron oxide? Or
yeah, you can get a little bit of it. You can actually make the CH3 jump because there's still particles in there. This stuff was, I would say, oh, there it is. You can see it.
Does that happen with the biosalt ones? Well, yeah, you just try it.
No, it doesn't do it with the biosalts. There's nothing in there. I mean,
yeah.
And that's 2 Dimium magnets right there. So, but then on like the one, like right here, I can take a whole pile of it right up the side.
Yeah,
wow.
that's I get the same result from the old way I used to do it with the.
Yeah, you can kind of tell the old way. Yeah, there's a lot of, it would be iron oxide, just what fell off. And then I tried, I don't know if it was this one or that. It must be this one here that I tried to run it through a real fine mesh coffee filter, a gold coffee filter, and it seemed to take a lot more of that stuff out, that black stuff out. And this one has less than both of these. I mean, these I can ride these up to, you know, take it all the way up the side, whereas this one you can't really do it. So this one was a little bit cleaner application by running it through the, I got it right here. I just put it through this. Can you see?
So
yeah.
that's interesting. Then the black particles or the magnetic particles must be bigger than that mesh size primarily then, compared to the other stuff. It'd be less nano material and more macro, or more the matter level chunks, basically, is the way it seems.
Yeah. So I don't know.
That's a good idea. Good idea with that filter. I wondered how they would work with Ganses. And technically, if the Ganses are nano, they should pass right through the filter very easily. So if there's chunks being caught, then that would be the bigger pieces for sure.
So if that helps you, Lee, that's kind of like my couple of my little tricks.
Okay, Mark, one other question. What range of the pHs you have there? You've got from 6.0 to 6.3. Is that pretty much the range?
Yeah, you know what? Like I said, I never even really took the pHs on the biocells yet. I just, you know, when we said, yeah, I mean, everything just kind of was coming to a head. I just pulled this all apart when we were just kind of asked to kind of stand down. So I didn't know if I should be playing with anything. So I just, you know, this is to me is more of a discipline, because I really want to touch the GANs. I want to, you know how it is. We're just, you know how I am. I'm constantly thinking of it. But what it really did for me here in the last couple of weeks is it helped me to focus on some of the things like helping people that I'm so confident now with our with the knowledge that we have with some of the things that help people in, you know, pain, like as far as the spray goes, and the GANS water with the zinc oxide. I mean, I have a good handful now of people that are starting to use it that, you know, I can actually, I'll be able to report back on a good 10 people now that I've actually felt comfortable enough to give a gallon of it to each of them with some spray bottles and some squirt bottles so that they can apply it. I gave them some instructions how to use it, where, you know, when to use it, how to use it. I gave them an ounce, little ounce cup, and I told them that you should just try a half an ounce in the morning and a half an ounce, you know, in the early evening, just so that your body can get adjusted to the CO2 and this zinc oxide. I just started them out on that basic CO2 zinc oxide, just to make their insides happy, to get that emotion started, to you know, I planted the seed that this could possibly help. You know, I don't guarantee anything to them, but they're good enough people that I can have enough confidence. They've known me long enough now, that I've done this long enough now, that they are willing to say to me, hey, well, why don't you give me some of that stuff? Finally, I've had a few people say, hey, can you give me some of that stuff? What do you call that stuff? What is that stuff you got there?
That's great. They get their curiosity going, and then you get to satisfy that. That's wonderful.
So for me, this little bit of downtime, you know, I mean, my thinking was, you know how that was. I got this big project going on here to try to just pull back the hands, and so I'm occupying my time in other ways and listening into all the great information we're getting, and you know, I'm formulating some ideas that you know, the information that we're receiving, and you know, I look forward to how we can learn where the source that power, you know, as you know, we're really getting down to the nitty gritty where the nucleus of it, you know, we now know that the middle of that nucleus has a proton, the neutron has the proton and the electron, and it splits away. But in the middle of that neutron, that dark middle is where that power is coming from, to push and pull in that neutron, to push that electron and proton outside that field. Once we can figure out what's going on inside that little middle hole there, bingo, we got the motion. We'll know how much is going into that blackness, and because we already know the end result of what's coming out of it is the proton, or the electron and the proton are being produced by that neutron. I'm not a chemist, so forgive me if I'm saying this wrong, but I understand the principal matter of that beginning nucleus, and then how it's being pushed out to make more matter as it reproduces itself. My question would be, if I was to ask Mr. Keshe, what holds the, you know, as that produces itself, where does it say to stop itself to hold form? You know what I'm saying? So as these the electron and the proton are produced from that neutron, how, you know, it goes out so far, it has to, something is telling it to stop at that point, or it does not have enough energy, or it's time to take shape, you know, take form. And that would be my question is, you know, as it goes outward, what dictates the form of that energy? You know what I'm saying? So there has to be, you know what I'm saying? The pushback has to be where, you know, the energy is being produced by it in a, you know, in an outward way, but at a certain point, you know, or is it infinity that constantly keeps building out into the universe?
Well, he talked about also the fields around the entity influence it quite a bit. So whatever environment that proton electron gets sort of born into, that will determine a lot what they're doing.
Can I interject?
Yeah, who's that? Sorry.
It's me. It's Vince.
Oh, Vince. Jeez. Okay, go ahead, Vince. Yes, please interject.
Can you bring up the cell dividing in like the first cell that divides when somebody gets pregnant? First division. I know there's animations and there's like Wikipedia or something, because I think it, from my mind, it shows what we're talking about. You have one cell, it divides, and it doesn't divide from the outside, it divides from the inside.
Yeah, good point. Maybe we can come up with a picture of that. We can get into that a bit more. Mr. Chin wants to talk about that as well. He's got some theories and ideas to talk about that. I can look for something. Maybe I wanted to get back to Lee there. He's got something else he wanted to show as well. I'm not sure if we're done with this CH3 GANs even yet. So maybe we can talk with Lee and I can look up something on Wikipedia here and try to find something. You want to go ahead there, Lee, or?
Yeah, where I was leading into the with the CH3 is I was trying to make some tritium GANs. Okay, if you can highlight my video again. So I had a nano-coated copper plate, and I had a zinc plate here. It's all deteriorated and it's gone now. It was just a piece of zinc rolled up into a rod shape. And then I had 3 different types of CH3 that I produced over the years in these little bottles. I got a plastic sort of lid on my pot, and I electrical taped around the outside edge so that no air could get in there. And so I ran that. I got on the bottom, you know, I got some CO2 and another ½ inch of zinc oxide on the top. But I was, there goes my coffee cup. I was expecting a color change in one of these, and nothing happened. So.
For that you need to have all in a closed container.
Yep. Well, that's what I did. A plastic lid. You know.
Yes, but the CH3 should be not closed. Let me explain a little.
Okay.
So you make a normal CO2 capture kit. This is nano-coated copper. This is zinc.
Okay.
You have them interconnected.
Yep.
Let's make this a little bit bigger. So here in the middle, you create a condition to capture carbon. Now, you close this box so you don't let the carbon from the air to go in. And you place inside on a tray, you fix it somehow here, above the level of the water. So here is the water level, and here you put your CH3. But you let this open. So if you close it, how can you expect to get anything out? Because you close it in matter state. You have to keep this tray open. And for this kit will be no other source of carbon available than the carbon from here. So you extract this carbon. So what you will have left?
H3.
Supposedly, yes.
Okay, thanks, Shandor, because I didn't realize we had to have an open container on the top. So.
Yep.
So I will retry that one.
Breaker, this is Denny. Shandor?
Yes.
I think we learned again this week that someone dried the CH3 GANs after he had it in the kit. Yes. And by doing so, he got some deuterium.
All possible.
And so the liquid, it was in the liquid state before he dried it. He was getting the tritium, and after he dried it, he got some deuterium. That was what Mr. Keshe explained what he got by the kind of color that he had with the system. And I think I recall that he said that it was like a bluish gray, and that many spaceships would have that type of color. Silverish.
Yeah. How did he do it exactly?
I think from what I heard was that, and I may have to go back in and listen, is that he dried it. And once he dried it, he started getting a change in color.
So he dried the CH3?
He dried, yeah. After he put it through his system to get tritium, he then dried it, the material that he made as tritium, and once he dried it, it started to change color, more of a silvery gray. But then he continued to dry it, and it got more black. Mr. Keshe then told him that it was the silvery gray that was the deuterium.
Maybe so.
Well, that's how I understand it. Of course, I have yet to do any kind of experimentation, and I listen acutely to hear other people's experience about it as well.
Some more description would be needed for us to understand what he did exactly.
Right, and I'd have to.
What I understood until now that he used such a dried CH3. But how did he use it? How was he set up for tritium? That we don't know.
No, what I understood was that he went through the process of making tritium. In other words, he had his CO2 kit sealed with his CH3 opened on the inside like you just drew.
Yes.
Then once he got that material, he dried that material.
I see.
And once he
changed its color after it was dried and not before.
After it was dried, it would begin to change its color into the silvery gray and then into a darker black, a darker gray, or shades of deep gray, black. So that I just have to listen to it over again, and I just have to get more experience myself in doing something like that, and I have none right now because I've been holding off. And so the only other thing I'd have to ask in this situation is how are people, who is making the actual hydrogen GANs and how they're doing that. I still have to learn that.
Yeah, is there anybody that can add to that? Zoltan asks, can anyone show deuterium and tritium? What color are they? I think you were just describing the color of those. So is that the ideas? The silver gray and then black basically is the way it goes?
Well, all I know, the silver gray was what Mr. Keshe called deuterium. And I don't know what the color is for tritium. And I have to go back through and study some of that stuff. And I've missed quite a bit of it. So I need to go back through and listen more acutely.
Yeah, I thought the tritium was supposed to be a greenish type GANs. So, but
okay.
I was expecting my reddish GANs to turn color a little bit on the greenish side, but nothing happened. So,
well, we kind of understood that your little containers were sealed; they had lids on them.
That's right. I goofed.
You got to take the lids off, and probably you could still take those. You could probably keep doing the experiments you have, but just take the lid off of the little.
Yeah, the lid's on top of the plastic seal for my container, so I'll have to get a different container down below. So yeah, I'll figure it out.
I don't want you to run off yet tonight, Lee. What's your time schedule?
Oh, tonight I'm gonna stay here till Rick shuts us down.
Okay.
Well, we'll be shutting down a bit earlier than normal in terms of normal being 4 hours or whatever. Because I have to broadcast again at about 2.5 hours from now, less than 2.5 hours from now.
Yeah, and you probably want to close down 2 hours.
Mind a half-hour break, yeah. So basically, less than 2 hours from now will be 1.5 to 3/4 or whatever. We'll shut down.
Yeah, so Danny, you've been reading my mind, Danny. You were showing all those bicycle wheels and stuff last week, and I've been collecting a couple of old kids' bicycles and nano-coating ping pong balls and getting ready to make a rotating ball race stuff. But it was surprising when you showed that last week.
I might want to. I only have what I have to show tonight. Shouldn't take but 3 to 5 minutes. It's just a work in progress. My idea was to make dynamic reactors without, mechanically move it manually without a motor. And by doing that, I end up using planetary gears to rotate the reactors and the 18 balls And so somewhere along tonight, if we get a chance, I'll show that picture.
Okay, thanks, Denny. Let me see, let's continue pursuing let's make sure we're finished with the CH3 GANs. First of all, there was a question from Space Dream about the pH in Mark's, the big pot with the dark GANs. Mark, they couldn't see whether it was 6.3 or 6.8 pH on that. Can you clarify?
Yep, that's that one was 6.8.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yep, so I got a 6.8, a 6.3, a 6.0. Oh, what's that bottom one? The bottom one's a 5.3.
5.3.
So it's slightly acidic.
Yeah, all of them slightly acidic. 5.3 is starting to get fairly acidic.
Yeah, but I mean, that was my very first one. I haven't taken a reading on that in a while, so that might be off.
In the meanwhile, Zoltan joined us, and he may show the GANs which he took out yesterday from that kit, which became such a greenish black. And what he said, it's interesting when he put a brand new plastic spoon into it to stir it, the plastic spoon became yellow or orange. Even though the GANs is bluish or greenish black.
Can Zoltan show some of that experiment?
I think he can.
Zoltan, would you like to
He's
do
not
that?
talking English, he's typing English.
Oh.
Hello. My English is so poor.
Well, maybe Shandor can translate if necessary. Is that true,
Okay.
Shandor?
If needed, of course, I translate, no problem.
Okay.
Ha kell, akkor tolmácsolok természetesen.
Persze, hát nem röhögtetem magam angolul. Na, itt van a...
So this is the GANs, the blackish greenish GANs, and this is the spoon. Just a normal disposable spoon.
So is that like a permanent stain on the spoon, or can that be wiped off?
Kérdezik, hogy ez a kanál az állandó foltot kapott?
Nem, ezt most reggel tettem be.
He put that in today.
A másikat megmutatom, a tegnap kavartam
He will
vele.
show yesterday's spoon, which he used yesterday. So yesterday he shown us this is. So the GANs is not.
That's pretty impressive.
Na
Yeah,
most, ha
that's
megmutatom, ha beteszem a másik kamerát, megmutathatom a izét, ami...
If he will set up his secondary camera, mobile camera, he will show the setup, how it looks like. As he is attaching a USB camera.
Moment.
Oh, it's not very much light. Nem nagyon látjuk, sötét.
Felveszem a dobozt.
You try to move it towards toward the light. Yes.
Hogy tartsam? Távolabb.
Jobbra. Kicsit, fényhez. Jobb. Let's move it to right. Now it's okay, we see something. We see bubbles. We see bubbles inside. Tele van buborékkal.
Igen. Értem. Csak beszélni nem tudok.
He understands, but he cannot talk well. Okay. So this is making a reddish GANs, and the black which we see, it's the plate itself. Tehát a fekete az a lemez.
Igen, a rézlemez, a nanos.
Nano-copper plate, it's the black one. It makes big bubbles, and it makes something reddish.
0,8 volt és 360 milliampere.
360 milliamps. So 0.36 milliamps, 360 milliamps, and 0.8 volts. So that's the condition. So purposely he tried to accelerate the process or to change the conditions with intention to get some deuterium against. Otherwise he uses no power.
Ellenben a pH értéke az én mérőm szerint ennek a 8.
But the pH, according to his, who knows how well calibrated commercial pH meter, it's 8. So it's alkaline.
7,9.
7.9.
7,8 esik.
7.8, it's dropping down a bit.
7,7.
7.7.
6.
6.
7,6 már úgy írtam.
7.6. Still slightly alkaline.
Esik 7,5.
It's dropping, it's 7.5.
Aztán megállít.
It stopped at 7.5.
Na, esett még 7,4-re.
It dropped finally to 7.4.
Perhaps the pH meter needed to be cleaned more before it was used too.
Valószínűleg jól meg kell tisztítani a pH mérőt használat előtt desztillált vízbe.
Biztos, hogy igen, mert nem volt megtisztítva.
It wasn't cleaned before. So if it's dried something on it,
Kész.
That's it.
Tessék?
Ennyi volt.
Ennyi. Köszi.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
De van egy kérdésem, mi lehet ez?
He has a question. What this could be? What he's producing?
Well, first of all, it's quite a high amperage actually at, what was it, 300 and something, 350 milliamps or something like that.
Elég magas az amper.
At 0.8 volts, it's around quarter watt or something like that, I suppose. And with that, because I think most of the amperages are usually in the tens of milliamps rather than hundreds of milliamps for producing ganses, and I don't know what you get with higher amperages and voltages. Anybody have some ideas or suggestions on that for Zoltán?
Sándor, megnézik a másikat? Másik kettőt, ami le van zárva. Ami 2 hete, 3 hete van benn.
He would like to show other two which are closed. He tries to make a tritium gas. Two setups which are closed boxes since 3 weeks. With the CO2 kit on the bottom and CH3 on the top.
Mm-hmm. Okay, is he going to start the video for that then?
Kapcsolt be a videódat, mutasd meg, légy szíves.
Oké.
So this looks to be the GANs collected at the bottom.
Ez június 27.
This was started on June 27th.
De a CH3 bent lóg a vízbe.
And the CH3 hangs into the water and it's open top. It's in a small salad tray or something like that. Or a salad cup.
Itt nincs áram, tehát
There
semmi.
is no any external power source. It's just a normal CO2 kit.
And what's his observations? It's a little hard to see with the video. Can he explain more what he sees and colors and whatnot?
Milyen színeket látsz, mert a videó az nem jól adja át, nem olyan jó minőségű.
Szürkés-fehér
It's a grayish, whitish GANs
és fehér.
and white.
Na most, hogy mi van a CH3-nál, ott olyan narancssárgás.
In the CH3 he just sees a pure orange color. Változott a narancssárga közben, vagy ugyanolyan színű, mint az elején?
Ugyanolyan színű szerintem.
So that orange color is still the same like at the beginning.
Na most ott a másik doboz.
And here it's the second box. Here he used the nano-coated coil instead of nano-coated plate.
Ami távolabbra van a két.
There is a larger distance between the two plates, or the plate and the coil.
Itt teljesen fehér fehér por van.
Here it makes absolutely pure GANs below the zinc plate. Az a cinklemez alatt van, ugye?
Igen.
So this is below the zinc plate. And it's a white. Most likely zinc oxide.
És itt kívül van, lehet, hogy igen távolabb.
And here he has the CH3 not right on the top of the middle distance between the two electrodes, but it's a bit on the side.
Na most itt ez július 1-e, de
this was started on July 1st.
Most a doboz tetőtől valószínű, hogy átveszi a színét, nem tudom megállapítani pontosan, hogy milyen színű.
Now the color of the top of the box reflects into the image, so he cannot establish exactly what color it is.
A CH3-nak már.
So it's about the CH3 which is on the top. You cannot see well the color.
No, ennyi.
So that's it.
Very good, thank you, Zoltan. Any questions for Zoltan about that? All right. Well, let's move along then.
Anybody know the answer to Danny's question about how to make hydrogen GANs? Because I don't know how to do that either.
Hydrogen GANs as opposed to deuterium or tritium GANs, you mean? Like
that's right.
Okay. Well, what about the Coca-Cola bottle reactor? Did that not produce atomic hydrogen? And we're told it did. And that could be from the release of the hydrogens in the plastic of the container, or possibly from the some other source of hydrogen in that system. Space Stream says something, or he used additional power, Rick? I don't think there's any additional power put into the Coca-Cola bottle reactor. There was power in terms of there's a gradient from the copper electrodes that were in it. And there was a talk in the last workshop about the patent. Remember in the patent, the Keshe patent, we look at the idea of cola bottle on the bottom and cola bottle on the top. I guess these are the threads for the neck, and the two bottles are joined by tubes, a couple of tubes. So the idea is that the bottom one would be your main reactor, and you might have your caustic and whatever electrodes in combination that's creating the plasma vapor, essentially, is the way I understand it. And the plasma vapor would be in this area in the upper reactor. And then theoretically you could maybe take that off and use it in a third reactor, or possibly this would be enough in itself to, depending what the effects and what sort of situation you're using it in. That was part of the patent, the Keshe patent. Showed the two cola bottles connected together. Keshe has mentioned that before, but then it came up in the blueprint teaching, and there was a discussion, and before we realized that we're in over our heads and didn't really know enough about it, we needed to ask more from Mr. Keshe about that. And the idea that the cola bottle reactor was to create the carbon coating on the copper electrodes and so on as well, to separate the carbon. But I believe that he was saying that enables the hydrogen to be released, and it's an atomic hydrogen condition inside. But I believe that we need to ask Mr. Keshe about that and see if we can get some clarification. And it might be in the next Knowledge Seekers workshop, or possibly in the next blueprint teaching, I'm not sure. But we're also, in spite of all this talk today about Ganses and so on, we're trying, as Mark mentioned earlier, we're trying to sort of veer somewhat away from the actual physicality of the Ganses and whatnot, and get more into how to create the effect that the Ganses have inside of ourselves. And perhaps there's ways that we can use the same concepts in order to find ways. Oh, thank you, Shandor. Perfect. Yeah, there's the cola bottle with the connecting tubes. And what can we get from this? We see there's a number of entities in that lower bottle. We've got the looks to be copper electrodes. I'm not sure what the little round ball things would be there. Any ideas on that?
Radioactive source.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay.
Like americium isotope from
Right.
smoke detector, for instance.
Okay, I didn't understand that. That's interesting.
That to give some scintillation.
Mm-hmm.
That was the older version of the technology.
Hmm. And that's a little more about the actual process inside, with that closed reactor diagram on the bottom there, I guess. So it shows the actual scintillation, the changes that go on. You can see the argon interacts, and you end up with these hydrogens. Some of the hydrogens would be ionized, apparently, and some would be just atomic hydrogen. You can see in the second figure that the It shows the atomic hydrogen there, or sorry, the molecular hydrogen rather. So I guess, is this indicating two different processes that are going on?
It looks like.
So one is the creation of graphene and the other is the creation of energy, perhaps. So the first one would be the creation of energy. You have these H pluses and E minuses separated out, and that's how we generate electricity from that gradient.
In some of the lectures long time ago, Mr. Keshe referred to this setup, and he also told about putting the third and the third bottle here with one tube, and he said that due to the shape of the bottle, there are different conditions in this area and in this area.
Mm.
And here at 284, you see something collected here is against.
Ah, okay.
So anyway, the patent applications are open, so you can download them, you can read the text which is connected to it, and to browse through the text for references to these numbers or to the number of the figures, etc., and to find a little more.
Yeah, good advice. Thank you very much for that, Chandler. Perfect timing. Yeah, it might be good advice to go back to the original patent application, and in view of the information that we have now, we've collected over the last few years, we might be able to see some of these diagrams in new eyes with a different viewpoint, and be able to make use of them perhaps.
Yeah, I used to go back also to earlier lectures, and with today's understanding, we have a different view on many words of Mr. Keshe.
Mm-hmm. But the principles are always the same, so you can go back and apply everything and get new understanding from it, because the source is similar, you might say. Any other comments about
anyway,
this?
in this figure 30, you just notice that there is an argon, potassium 40 through beta decay goes on argon. So this is the beta decay of the potassium 40, which is contained in any potassium. It's about 120 parts per million of the potassium in nature contains this potassium 40 isotope.
And the potassium comes from the KOH that was added to the potassium hydroxide that was added, correct? To the magic mixture. The K factor, the K mixture. Okay, so then it shows from the beta decay of the potassium, we get argon, and the interaction between the radioactive source and the argon produces a scintillation, and it looks like the scintillation provides EUV, which is ultraviolet, and the ultraviolet ends up splitting off the hydrogens the ionization creates the electron and H plus and so on there. Interesting. Whereas
So
on
here is a kind of fission at a small scale.
yeah, it'd be very.
But remember, here in this setup, there is something here. If you know small detectors, you can buy these days with about $15, $20. I mean, the cheap models.
Yeah, you're right. So in this case, the radioactive source actually converts the potassium to the potassium-40, it looks like.
Yeah, so
but we do know that there's also a natural amount of potassium-40 in any quantity of potassium as well, like you mentioned, right?
Yes.
So this would just make more of that reaction. In a way, you may not need the radioactive source. Well, maybe you still need it for the scintillation. Okay, any other comments about that, ideas?
I was just wondering if my mute was on or off. So that radioactive material was in a type of smoke alarm, wasn't it?
Yes. Or do you know those watches which had a phosphorescent indicators?
Yes.
That's also a source of radiation.
And to be clear to our viewers, when we were talking earlier about deuterium and tritium gases or ganses, that they are not the actual radioactive tritium that we're talking about. We're talking about the plasmatic strength of tritium and deuterium. So just to be clear on that, we're not really necessarily playing with radioactive products in terms of tritium and so on. It's the plasmatic energy of tritium. That's the way I understand it.
So
Okay. Were you done there, Shandor, or did you have something else you wanted to show there? Okay, well, Denny, would you like to...
Yes, it shouldn't take me very long. I've got it in. I have it in a paint file. Let's see if I can pull it up on the share screen. This must be it. I'll do a quick explanation. Let me annotate just for a moment. What is that? What color is that? Let me just see. Okay. That right there is the crank. When you crank this, it turns everything. You really don't need a flywheel. You could put the crank on this top planetary gear. So there's 3 planetary gears involved here. Once you turn the crank, it turns all the reactors, turns the top reactor, spins it, it turns the 18, it rotates the 18 around in a circle, plus they do spin by the way you hold the gears of the planetary reactor. And the bottom one, the bottom of the star formation, by holding the connector plate, then it spins the reactors, but holds them in position. They don't rotate. And so I just have a. Let me see if I need to. I'll have to stop my annotate just a minute. There. So that, but the idea for this was to be able to do a spin the dynamic reactors without using electricity, just using the manual input of turning the planetary gears by themselves. Of course, you could put a motor on it, and also you could put maggrav coils, can be placed in the frame or in positions inside of this frame. Let me increase my magnetism. Okay, so just so people can get a quick understanding what a planetary gear is, they can go Google it, just Google planetary gear. Let me see, I think I got it written somewhere. The outside ring, that's the ring gear. Okay, I can annotate on this, and it shouldn't take me too much longer, and I'll be done. Okay, the ring gear is there. The planetary gears are these. The sun gear is in the center, and this carrier rod is right here. When this carrier rod is held firm and the ring gear is spun, then the planet gears turn. In other words, they will spin the 3 base reactors in the little diagram that I had. Okay. Okay, let me minimize this again. Does anybody have any questions on what I've done here and what I'm drawing? Because I'm trying to make these here, instead of using bearings, I used where it says idler gears, I used little gears rather than bearings in there. Now, you can use bearings where the top reactor spins and where all the 18 reactors spin. You can use bearings in there, but between the frame and the planetary ring gear, it doesn't need to have bearings. You can use an idler gear there. Lee, does this look like something you could make?
Looks a little complicated to me.
Well,
I don't know where to get all that planetary gear stuff.
Well, you can actually, Shapeways had a little plastic one. There are people that do laser cut plywood that you can get them made. You can take a piece of birch plywood, and there's formulas for how to cut the teeth just with a jigsaw, and the ratios of them. So let me annotate again. Let me see if I clear all my little marks. I can do that. And so the way I have this set up is, you see this little gear here? that one there that has teeth on both sides of it. That's all three of these planetary gears here. 1, 2, 3, all have these teeth doubled so that I can rotate it with the idler gears. The flywheel connects to this idler gear here. This idler gear connects to the, so all three are connected. So when I turn this top one, all three planetary gears turn because I'm turning the rings. How I down here on the bottom of the base is by holding the carrier firm, say to the frame down here. Then the you can go and Google these and see videos of how they turn, and all of that information's there. This particular one, a person used a 3D printer to build this, and he even put in extra little planetary gears inside these planetary gears, and he beveled the gears. You can see the bevel right here. Maybe if I back out of my annotating again and magnify this, you can see it a little better. You can see the way those gears were beveled. Now he did that on a 3D plastic printer, and so by beveling it, they don't slide through the gears so quickly. Like if you had an open gearing, they could fall through. That's why you need the carrier. Now this comes from these. They use these planetary gears in automatic transmissions. They have a series of these planetary gears. Well, you can see why they're called planetary, because you got the sun gear in the middle and the planet gears going around, and you can have any number of these, and that's why I'm saying over here I can put 18 planets around that ring gear, and as they spin around, as they rotate, they spin around. And so by doing that, now all I have to do is hand crank that, or if I want to put a, like set up a bicycle or something where I just pedal it instead of turning it with the hand crank. And the whole point of this was I wasn't going to do it for very long. If I was going to use it for health reasons, then I was only going to need it for a short period. Someone would turn it while the other person, and the size of it could be made a lot larger. This little design here is about a foot by a little over. It's about somewhere around 12 inches wide and cubed, but it's really cylindrical. It has a 12-inch radius, and it sits about 18 inches tall. So it's really not very big. I can purchase from Shapeways a little planetary gear that's made of plastic that's about 4 inches in diameter, and that way I have to make my reactors small enough to fit the planetary gears. So this is just a thought in progress, because it made a lot, by using the planetary gears, it made it a lot simpler to move all of the reactors with just one motion from the I can't seem to get I got all these guys over here. There I go. Just one motion, but turning this hand crank right up there at the top. By turning this hand crank. So, but if it got larger, then I'd have to turn that by other means. Or maybe have to put hook an ox into it if I wanted to stand inside. And then the mag gravs would coils can sit inside here. See, there's the frame. It can sit inside. These little connectors that connects each planetary gear to the planetary gear, they're connecting the ring gear. It's what they're doing, because the ring gear is spinning and this is the ring gear, the one on the outside, and that one will rotate. And so I'll connect from, there's 3 ring gears in here, and actually you can put 4 if you wanted to when you're starting to do the spaceship flight. You may want to have another planetary gear up here with a lesser number of reactors on it. Say one of them has 18 and one of them has 6 or 12 or whatever you choose for the size of your metal reactors and the size of this. So it can be handmade by making it out of, I'd say, a good quality birch plywood if you're going larger. And of course, you don't have to cut it all in a circle. You can segment the. Let me see if you're. Let me get back to this. You could say if you're making it larger, you could cut this portion of plywood and make certain that you got some kind of system where they'll join together, and then just because they're not going to be bumping anything, you could even splice a piece over or double up on the splice there. So you don't have to cut it all out of one circle of a piece of plywood. The plywood being a 4x8 sheet of plywood, you could eliminate have to make you could make it larger by splicing the segments together. Okay, I find it interesting that you can move all of the reactors by one little turn of the wrist. I mean, the turn of the arm up there where the flywheel is, because the flywheel turn it this direction, and this right here will actually turn this direction. These here will actually turn this direction. And these balls will be spinning and they will turn that direction as well. Down here, the planetary gear will be going around, so will this one, because they're all connected to be turned the same direction. And these balls can turn left. Now you can set it up to where if you want them to turn differently, you can actually change the way the planetary gears will spin on one another. You're just going to have to place another idler gear in between it. So this is founded a pretty simple way of being straightforward planetary gears you can make or you can purchase. If you have a 3D printer, you can make it. There's information on the internet to give you the ratios, to even show you how. They even have some where you can take the math right off of the ones that are made. So that's I didn't want to go much farther than that and use up too much time. So okay. That's the end of my presentation. Let me clear this and back out.
All right, thank you very much, Denny. It's an interesting concept there.
Well, see, the thing of it is, it's not the final state. It's when we're explaining this kind of stuff to different people, it's sometimes you may not be able to jump from one concept to the end concept of what we're learning now. We may have to take people through one step after another. And if this was a situation where I didn't have electricity, and I had this pre-made, because it's going to take electricity to make the thing. But if I had it pre-made, I would have it in a position where I wouldn't need electricity to utilize it. And that was the point of trying to make something like this. The question I asked myself: Can I make a flight system without having to power it up with electricity? And then the same question is: Can I put my magravs in there and get this to generate electricity, and then be able to get it to power itself? That was another question I have to solve. Can I use my maggrav coils in this system? Do I need to place some magnets as I turn gears the old-fashioned way and make me a DC generator to power my magravs for a short period of time? And those are a few questions I have to ask myself when I start to design and engineer it. That's it. Thanks. Well, I am willing to answer any kind of question.
Right. Yes.
I'm willing to take a pat on the back too.
All right, we'll give you a pat, one pat on the back for Denny. All right, is there any questions for Denny's gears there? Gear situation. All right, well, maybe someone out there will be inspired to come up with a gear-based maggrav system. Who knows? I've considered such a thing myself, so.
Maybe the ultimate solution would be to spin the fields and not spin the physicality.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
That's the ultimate. That's what we want. And but if we don't reach there, or if somebody can't reach there, they can fall back to fallback positions and still be able to get benefit from them.
In a way, the idea of a manual control system or a manual power system to get the system working is an interesting idea. It's very much similar to the this idea. Okay, so this was the Huxley device back in the old days. This is a globe here that's partially evacuated, partial vacuum inside, a glass globe. And this woman has her hands on. This guy's the slave of the family. He's cranking away on this big wheel to keep the globe going, so the woman can put her hands on the globe and cause it to glow. A purplish glow came from this globe, and that was an actual plasma ball that was back. This was back in the 1600s, before they even had batteries. It's one of the first forms of electricity. But the idea I wanted to present was not that, but that there's the interaction here. It takes two people to create the effect from this device. So they have to be coordinated, and they have to be aware of each other and so on. And actually there'd be a third person involved here. The man of the house would read his newspaper by the light of this glowing globe, so they wouldn't have to use kerosene lamps or whatever else they had back in those times. It seems like a lot of work to create a light to read a newspaper by, but if it works, why not, you know?
Think about the gravity motors. Have you seen the old clocks with pendulum, which had no springs, but they had a weight?
Yes, right. My grandfather had a grandfather's clock like that.
Okay, so that's the principle. With proper gears, you can obtain high speed by a big weight, which is going down slowly, just to have proper transmission. And also you can make it with a system with two weights, while one is going down, time to time you have to lift the second. And
yeah. And they
if you want to get rid of electric motors, but the system is huge, so it's not mobile.
Yeah, it is. It takes, what it does, it gives you a chance, as the gravity is pulling the weight down, it gives you a chance to go do something else. And then when it gets time, it's down there, then you can go and reset it and let gravity pull the other weight down. That's what's nice about that. The flywheel that I had put here, I would say, well, the easiest way is to put water in it. Well, there's no sense to put just water in it. You might as well put liquid plasma in it, in the flywheel. I was just thinking, oh, there's a lot of things you can do with the variations of this. However, this is not the objective of what we're trying to do right now as engineers. We're trying to learn to use the control the energies of the soul to create the reactors separately and have non-physical reactors, such non-material reactors. I wouldn't say they wouldn't be physical, because I think plasma is probably still a form of physicality in its own right, but I don't. So that's your objective as plasma engineers, is to eliminate all the material and go directly to the actual plasma fields, but in the meantime, this gives another option. And of course, this is like riding a donkey rather than doing it the other way, than flying a spaceship. You can compare this to riding a donkey, but at times the donkey will get you there where a four-wheel drive won't. So I guess I don't need to explain this anymore. I'm ready for someone else.
All right, thank you very much, Denny. We do have Mr. Chen, who wanted to get back into the neutron and proton electron and describe his viewpoint on that. Maybe we can get into that now.
Okay, I can speak now.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Can I share the screen?
Go ahead.
Before to explain, I have to explain the Queen Chi. Iking from the traditional Chinese traditional medicine. Because before I cannot explain, but after Mr. Keshe say, I can explain how it's learned, how it's run. Now I go to the directly. You see, this is emptiness of the universe. The beginning of the universe is emptiness. Is they have nothing inside. The first thing is from the emptiness. We have a first matter is coming. By like Mr. Keshe say, is a neutron. A neutron, but the neutron is a matter. But because a neutron is a plasma, it have a a vortex inside here. In the middle of the vortex, you have a hole. You have an emptiness in the middle. With the emptiness, it's begin to get the electron inside. And after the electron go out, we have a proton. In this side, we have this one. Now, this is a neutron. After the electron go out, after the electron go out, we have a proton. The emptiness become bigger. We have to notice in the proton and the electron, we have always emptiness in the middle. With the emptiness, they begin to mutation. But like a proton, the first time is with emptiness, he gets the neutron, and they divide on two. When they divide on two, this one we have says is what is with the emptiness, he makes the proton and the electron. And the proton, in the emptiness of protons, they begin to have a second neutron. And in the emptiness of the electrons, they have a proton too. In this way, we have, you see, in the emptiness of the proton, we have an electron and we have a proton. This is a division of the proton. When the division is gone, the protons is not still here because it's divided on proton and electron. In the neutron is the middle step. You see, in the same way, I like this one. In this one, we have on the emptiness of the proton, we have a new neutron. And the emptiness of the electron, we have a new neutron. And this one and these two is a step, but intermediate step only. The matter is a proton and an electron, but the neutron, what Mr. Keshe say is a dark matter, is an intermediate only. And after the proton is divided on one electron and one proton, and this one too. I want to show you one clip I have done with for the 1 minute, please.
Hello, Mr. Chen.
We get 1 minute, please. Plus my video. Now, this is emptiness. Now, the proton begin to appear. And after the proton appear, you see, this is the vortex. In the vortex, in the middle is emptiness too. In the middle, we have a spiral. This spiral get the electron. No. And after that, we begin with this neutron. The proton give the proton and electron. And after that, you see, this one is, we say, a mutation, which it comes from the emptiness. And this one is the expansion, because the neutron divides on two, we have a proton and electron. And after the proton get the neutron and the electron get the neutron, we have this one, the mutation too. And after this one, the neutron can expand. Then after this, I expand this. First, the proton, they divide on electron and proton, and the proton and electron become two neutrons, give two neutrons, and then they divide. And after they have 4 protons, and after they divide, in this one, they come the expansion of the matter on the black hole. Now I understand, because Mr. Keshe say I explain. I explain what Mr. Keshe say only. That's what I know. If this is the one I can only know the matter. The first matter is the proton, and the proton divide on two. One, I know, a neutron divide on two, one proton and one electron. Within the emptiness of the proton and the neutron, we have a second expansion, mutation to have two protons, and the proton divide. And this way, I can understand what the Mr. Keshe said. I don't know what you can understand, but I understand in my way is this way, because before I cannot know why one meter become 2 meter, and 2 meter become 4 meter. But now with the proton as a neutron, proton, and electron, I know. Because with the emptiness, they create a matter. What Mr. Keshe want to say? Because a neutron is a man. This is a matter of the man, and this is a soul.
Come on, dude.
And the soul is from the emptiness of the soul, we have a proton, and the emptiness of the man, we have the proton too. Because this side is also a, we can say this one is a brain, or the soul is the same thing, because the emptiness is the soul, or the electron is the soul. So it's the same thing. What I can understand. But today I want to explain to you what I understand, what Mr. Keshe say only.
Hi, Mr. Chen.
Yes.
May you explain to us
Yes.
the empty nest?
Yes, because the emptiness is have nothing inside. Is have no matter.
Where does the empty nest come from?
The emptiness, because the first time of the universe is emptiness. They have no matter. And in the no matter, they come from the first matter is the neutron. You see?
So the empty nest comes from nothing.
Yeah, it's from nothing. They create the matter.
But the empty nest comes from the blackness of
Black.
the middle.
This is now I explain like this one. From the emptiness, they comes the first matter, and this first matter is a plasma. Because it's a plasma, he have a vortex inside. In the middle of vortex, we have a whole emptiness. And in this emptiness, he create a new matter, is a proton.
Exactly. I'm just trying to understand. So in the empty nest, from the middle, we have to feed the middle from the outside, which the middle created.
Yeah.
So the outside expands itself from a proton and a neutron, or a proton and electron.
Yeah.
It has to loop itself back. It has to go back into the black hole in order to feed itself to hold the position.
Yeah. You know, because
maybe Vince, are you there? Maybe he could finish this, because this is the point I cannot understand, is how that black hole is filled with energy. The empty nest has to be refilled in order to push out energy to be able to recreate itself. The black hole has to be fed.
You know, he do this one. You see, this is in the emptiness. He makes the first matter, because the first matter is a plasma. Because he is a matter, he have a plus. He was a plasma.
Well, the first one has to be equal. Equal.
No, because this is a matter. It was a plasma. He have vortex in the middle of vortex is have emptiness, always emptiness. You see?
Yes, I see. I understand exactly the vortex in the middle.
Yeah, vortex in the middle. They have emptiness. Always have emptiness, because I throw this one for you, and you can see.
The thing that I don't understand is what feeds the vortex in the middle.
Because this is a matter, but the proton is matter, but matter is a plasma. In the plasma, he have a vortex outside, and in the vortex outside, they have a middle of the vortex. He have a.
Yeah, but it would be the same thing. You'd have a neutron inside that. There would always be a neutron inside that empty nest.
Yeah, you have emptiness. Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So the neutron is always feeding that empty nest, because the neutron holds the empty nest. The neutron is the point that I'm trying to make is every empty nest holds a neutron, and that's a moot point, meaning that the black hole in the neutron is there's always something falling into the neutron or into the middle of that neutron in order to produce an electron and a proton.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, why I say the first time there was emptiness, and they create the proton, and the proton is a plasma. He have vortex. In the middle of the vortex, we have emptiness. With this emptiness, they create the electron, and the electrons will separate on one proton and one electron.
I appreciate that, but I guess we have a communication gap. I'm from Detroit, Michigan, so sometimes I don't explain myself accordingly. But I'm just trying to understand as a creator how that middle, the empty nest, is either created or fed or produced.
Yeah, because you know the matter cannot produce a matter. Only the emptiness can produce a matter, because the emptiness is energy. because
that has to come from someplace, though. That's not the boogeyman in the middle. That has to start from someplace.
But the thing is, there's always fields through the whole universe. There's always energy. There's always fields going through these.
Well, yes, Rick, and that's what we're really trying to hone our senses into, is the middle of this field. I don't care how finite we take this technology, is that middle takes us to the infinity point that we cannot explain. The energy either comes out of that point or goes into that point, because either our source, our beginning source is in that empty nest. It's either coming from that middle to us, or we are going to it. That is what I'm trying to understand, and maybe I'm not making myself, I'm just a simpleton. My way of thinking is not, but I just try to take it to a simple point where, these last 10 days or 12 days have come down to a soul, a pinpoint. We're talking about a minimum pinpoint of an existence. Where do we get that source? Is it in the middle, as Mr. Chen is saying, the empty nest, or the figure eight? I understand all that, but it's the infinity that goes way down deep into that. Or is it coming from that the depth of that infinity to us?
Well, I think the question is yes to both of those. There's a two-way street. It can't go just one way.
Exactly. So we could just talk about this whole point, but I would pay any amount of money for somebody just to explain to me how that power point comes to us, because that'll give us the shape, the form, the presentation that we live in today comes from that explanation. Right there, that figure eight, that empty nest, that, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. Maybe I take it too.
Well, the thing is, Mark, I think you poked the point there, which is that it's a multi-dimensional thing that you're talking about. It's both on the atomic level, and it's also in the macro level inside of our bodies as we sit here and contemplate this idea. It also works with the entire galaxy. If you look at the black hole in the center of the galaxy, and then the black hole that's apparently in the center of the universe, and so on. So it's not just a simple question. It's actually the question at the core of their entire existence. And if we understood that totally and completely, then we would have no misunderstanding of the entire universe. Basically, we would have the whole picture, and it's very hard to get to that point, of course. But we can approach it by discussing it and relaying our experiences and our different viewpoints and perspectives as we approach as close as we can to that empty point. For example, what does it feel like inside when you touch that empty spot? When we get a little closer to that point of true beingness, of just being with no physicality, just being present without associating oneself with the physicality. In other words, our identity becomes identified with the voidness in the middle, rather than the stuff on the outside around the middle. But yet the stuff around the outside, like our body or the planets or the star systems in our galaxy and so on, are all necessary to form that gradient between the middle and the other stuff. If the other stuff wasn't there, then there'd be no gradient. There would be no middle. It would all be middle, and that doesn't work.
because you see in the emptiness, this is a spiral of the power. In the emptiness, we have a spiral of the power like a galaxy. In this point, these keys create energy, and he create a matter. Not the matter create matter, but on the emptiness, he create a matter. It's the same thing in the here. It create a spiral too, and here create a matter. And this one, the proton, again, the proton create this one, and a neutron, and this electron create this a neutron. What I understand, Mr. say only. I explain what he said. He always said on the middle of the matter, like a proton. He say in the middle, and we have a electron, and they say separate electron, and when he separate, we have a proton, and the electron. But in the middle of the electron, you say it always have a hole. Is emptiness. In this emptiness, they have a spiral because this is a vortex. Where we can know this is a vortex because I take a black one. And this one too. And this one, we say emptiness, but it's really a soul. And in the middle here is a soul too. And with a soul, we create a matter. I know what I know. I explain only. In this way, I can explain from the emptiness, we create a matter, and within the matter, he have an emptiness. He create a matter, and they begin to separate to this state. I say the mutation, and this state I say is the evolution. I say separation or something. I don't remember the say, but 1 minute. This is a mutation. This is expansion.
Okay, now
this is the mutation, and this is the expansion. And after we have a mutation, and after we have expansion, but the state of the neutron is like Keshe say is the black matter. He not stable, but the stable matter is proton and electron is stable. And this state is the intermediate state only, and this proton too. And after this one, he create one proton and one electron, and this one proton and one electron, and they go away. They expand with two exponential.
Okay, perhaps we can go back to Mark's question again, and Mark, maybe you can try your question again, and maybe just rephrase it a little differently, or just say it again, perhaps, and maybe that'll trigger off some other deeper concepts that we can sort of play off of here.
Yeah.
Can you say something, Mark, about that?
I'm sorry, Rick. I don't know. My thought process comes in when it comes in, and for me to, this is Mr. Chin's idea and how he sees it, and he's comfortable.
He's relaying it the way that he saw Mr. Keshe presenting it. It's more Keshe's idea, which seems pretty close to what Keshe said, I think.
Yeah, it is. But when Mr. Keshe presents things, he leaves it as an open end. He lets us decide or try to understand the portions. That's the riddle that's his that's how he teaches us. He could just tell us everything. He knows a lot more than what we do. He could just come out here and just tell us everything, and we could just follow along like sheep. But he allows us to be creative in our own minds and our own abilities to bring out ideas that brings a lot of things to the table.
Yeah.
But a lot, more so than I could think of. This has expanded my brain more than could ever understand. I used to be just a painter. I think I'm more than just a painter now.
I think so.
No, but you see this infinity.
Well, I understand the infinity of our expansion of knowledge is just exponential, and that's what the infinity does for us. Is once we open up the door to knowledge, and I think that's the point Mr. Keshe was trying to make. Is once we open the door and we start to step through it and we start to understand it. It makes us feel good, but we discipline our soul, our love, our giving, our sharing. These are all things that are being introduced to us as a whole, for 7 billion people to get on board and to try to tell people, hey, you got an infinity loop and you could actually do a lot better than what you're doing. To try to convince people of that at this point at our time and space is just incredible. But we have the opportunity to do it. We're enjoying doing it. If anybody ever feels like it's a burden to them, they should stop for a while and step back and just appreciate what's been given to us as a humanity point of view. We have an opportunity to take a step forward. I feel like we're going one baby step forward instead of 2 steps back. It's an old saying, 1 step forward, 2 steps back. We're so used to that now. We've been so used to that crap fed to us that we're always on the losing end of.
That's absolutely right, Mark. And that's the part of the sort of the poverty mentality and the poor me victim mentality and the mentality of scarcity and so on. And now I think we're transforming into a different thought form, a different attitude about everything. And it's a lot more, let's go full tilt ahead, basically, rather than with all the restrictions and so on. But yeah, carry on. Okay.
Breaker. I have to do some house cleaning here. We got about 15 minutes left, and so that's what I wanted to bring to mind. Also, Mr. Keshe was even referred to how we could engineer this particular electronic plasma. He gave us a hint in doing that, but I'm still going to go back. We got 15 minutes, and so that's it. 15 minutes to go.
Yes, thank you, Denny, for our little breaker check there, because we really appreciate what Rick does for us. I mean, brother, the tilt that you're going is just incredible. We come once a week, And you know, we put a lot of other thought into it, but you're doing it every day now, day after day. I give strength to your voice, your vocal voice. Well, let alone your thought process and everything else that's going on inside you. I send everything I can to you because, man, your strength is our strength. I just would like to say thank you for everything you do for us. I mean, we got hours and hours of teaching, and I sit here at night when I come home from work and I try to mull through it, listen to it, understand it, but you're there in the thick, in the trenches, and thank you very much for what you do for all of us.
Well, thank you, Mark. Appreciate that very much. And I was just saying to my sister who is visiting here today that I'm so thankful for, like, virtually every day there's people thanking me for the work I do and so on. I'm just so humbled and thankful for the support that I get and the fact that people are out there and they are interested in this teaching. That's not just about plasma reactors, that's for sure. It's way more than that. It's very encouraging to go forward into this. It's a new realm in a way. We touch on things that are spiritual and are close to our essence and our hearts and so on, and it can be quite emotional sometimes, and has been in this workshop, and surprisingly at times. And but that's all part of our interacting with each other at this point, and I think it's quite wonderful and magical the way it's all coming together. And it's definitely been a transition or a evolution, you might say, in the last 4 years of this group, and different people have come and gone. Some have been the same through the whole thing, and it's undergone quite a transformation, and I'm very happy with the way things are going in the group and on the planet. I really feel the changes that are going on, and that we're due for really big changes coming up, like immediately, like maybe this week, sort of thing.
Well, Rick, if no changes ever happen, the change has already happened for me and for a lot of us in this group. I just want your sister to know that
Can I say something?
Can I just finish for 1 second? 1 second. I just want Rick's sister to know that she can be very, 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 very proud of her brother for where her brother has taken us to a point where we might have a chance that she can be very, very proud of her brother. That's all I want to say. Thank you. Thank you, Rick. Thank you.
No, what I want to say is my imagination. I try to simplify what Mr. Keshe say only. I don't want to influence. Maybe my imagination is wrong, but I won't have to say. And if you agree, I'm happy. If you not agree, I'm always happy, because something maybe I wrong, but I accept everything you say. But I imagine what Mr. Keshe say. I imagine this way is easier to understand only. Thank you for your listening. Anyway.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chen. That was it was good stimulation for us to be able to conceive. I appreciate your simple drawings because, like Mark says, we're simple people, and we need to. But that doesn't mean we don't go deep at the same time, because it takes simple in order to go deep, essentially. So, you know, it's like the vacuum, the voidness in the middle that we're looking at in the diagram. It's how simple can you get? It's the absence of everything that we know of, other than perhaps fields, and yet it's in a way the hardest thing to get to from the physicality perspective. So interesting.
Because you know, I always say the electron is a soul and the body is a proton, like Mr. Keshe say. But the electron and the proton have a hole inside. In the hole is emptiness. To create the matter, not the matter. We create matter, like Mr. Keshe say only. In this way, I realize that in the emptiness we create a matter only. Like a soul, like Mr. Sketchline say, always with our soul, we create a matter for the aircraft. He always say, not from the matter, from our soul. And we can go to this skyship with our brain only, with our soul only. Not with our body, not with a matter. Why we have to create a matter from our soul? Anyway, thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Any other comments about that?
I would like to say that he does a very good job and a very good concept, and we really appreciate all that Mr. Chin brings to the table. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very good. Just looking at the chat here. Estella says, infinity blessings. Our bodies have been disconnected from the source energy. We are discovering as we build plasma fields in our bodies, we will tune into the plasma field of the universe. Okay. And later says, meditation, no thinking. And now she says, I am here.
Rick, if it is maybe Vince could just maybe highlight what we were talking about, or just give a small, you got to go in like 5 minutes, I understand, but he wanted you to go to the division of the female egg.
Right, I did have a picture of that. Let me see if I can get that again.
Sorry, Vince, to put you on the spot.
Okay, I'll bring up the Wikipedia here. This is it's hard to get the correct pictures. I'm still not sure if I got it. This is on, it's called Developmental Biology, study of the process by which animals and plants grow and develop. Just make it bigger so people can see. And they have a little diagram here that might be useful. And I'm wondering, is this what you were talking about, Vince, or are you talking about the actual splitting of the cell? This is the initial stages of embryogenesis, I guess you call it. So in a way, we have in the first picture here, we have the pronuclei, and the pronuclei end up multiplying essentially from a cleavage.
The polar body, that polar, see the little polar body?
Yeah, up here. Yeah.
Seems like and there's the second picture has that too.
Good point.
So is that the black hole that feeds the middle that pulls the two apart in the nuclei? What's that guy doing in the middle there? That's what I love about Mr. Keshe. He says that, you know, he calls out the scientists that say, well, you know, there's parts of the science that we don't really understand, and we won't talk about that part until people poke us about it. And when we do get poked about it, all of us will gather together and say, don't worry about that. We won't talk about that at that point.
Well, I mean, if we wanted to look into it in more detail, the scientists would have more detail on this process.
They would not like me in the science field.
Well, you ask the tough questions is the problem. But we can see, if we sort of just look at this as something to go off of for the next few minutes here, we see the fertilization, cleavage, and day 3 compaction. So something's happened. Like in day 2, there's sort of a bunch of random parts, but by day 3, see the center core, the black holes have all gotten together in the center. So it's like the what's it called, the pronucleus, or the seed, it seems to either be attracted to that center void point, or they're attracted to each other, or maybe just from the shape or something, but there seems to be some kind of gradient happening that they're attracted toward the center at least. And then what happens is we get this a different kind of cell is created because of the strength of the fields is different with these central nuclei, let's say. And that seems to create this differential between the central cells and the outer cells. And that differentiation, they call it, by day 4, leads to what you see in day 5. And then they throw what's called, I don't know where that came from, but cavitation. So cavitation indicates to me that's when things get going with you start to have lots of fields. There's fields with cavitation. There's, you know,
a cavitation is like in a boat or in a propeller where it's a void, it's an empty space, or it's black.
That's right, exactly. And that's
its only meaning creation of a cavity.
Right. So either way, that creation of a cavity enables, it's in a vacuum condition essentially inside the body, so it enables the ability for plasma to flow.
The spiral effect, the spiral. If you look at that picture, you can just see the progression of left to right, right to left, 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 right to left. All the way through that whole, and then once it goes down to the middle, then it goes left to right, left to right, left to right. Then it goes from right to left, right to left, right to left. That's how the spinning of our spirals go, or our coils go, or our nature goes, or the shell of a shell goes. And once again, we go right back to that middle point. And you know what? We should just end this conversation tonight. It's 3:30. Take a break, Rick. Take this to the next session, and just think. We're at that spiral point, right down to that black hole. If we can figure out how the feeding of that black hole is, if Mr. Keshe feels like it, but he's on holiday now. We got 18 days. Let's all just go to the beach and enjoy the summer and watch our vegetables grow. That's what I'm going to do. You know what? I'm so happy that I have about another 18 days to go out in my backyard, cut the grass, watch my vegetables grow, I can come back to this now. I am so comfortable in this technology that if anybody needs help, anybody wants help, I'm just a guy from Detroit, but I'm very happy. I can kind of see the secular progression of this, and we're so close to finding out the middle of the in and out. And I with my capacitors, I almost understand the plus and minus of all this giving and taking stuff. There has to be a central point. The central point has to be fed. The feeding has to be an output and an input, just like our picture shows, just like that purple picture shows. Does the come from the top, or does it come from the bottom? And does it flow from the sides outward? All that is a yes. All that's a yes. So I'm gonna watch my vegetables grow. I got some cucumbers and some tomatoes and some peppers. I'm gonna have some nice, since I've been enjoying the Gans water, and I don't eat a lot of food anymore, but the fruits and vegetables that I eat fulfill me, and I'm happy, and I'm going to enjoy the last half of the summer here, because I'm ready to get going come September or the end or the 1st of August. But really, let's be inspired, people. Let's enjoy ourselves for the next couple of weeks and be happy and talk and be inspired. That's how I feel here from Detroit.
Okay, thanks for the words of inspiration there, Mark. Appreciate that. Okay, I think I will wrap it up for tonight. That's been a very interesting session, as always, and I thank everyone for the active participation here. That's what it's all about. And when you guys are active, then makes everyone active that listens to this conversation. So we're active in finding that voidness within ourselves and within our experiments, and knowing that that is actually the true source of our energy and of our life. So more on that as we go along, because I think you hit it right on the mark there, Mark, in terms of we have to learn how to feed this this voidness that we have, and in a way that's enables it to grow, perhaps, and to be even more present than the more limited amount that it may be at this time. So we'll definitely be working on that as we go along and try to move a little more away from the physicality, but we'll always come back to the physicality examples as we need to for explanations and demonstrations and whatnot, just because we need a little more confirmation of our true existence as we go along. I think it's nice to have a little bit of confirmation every now and then, and that's what we get in this group, I think. So thank you all for the confirmation tonight, and see you next week. And also, people can tune in to the Blueprint for Peace for Humanity, which starts in about half an hour here. That's at 10 o'clock a.m. Central European Time, and the links are on the Keshe Foundation, the usual sites, and Facebook and wherever. Alrighty, well, thank you everybody. I'm going to end the live stream now.